people who were instrumental in achieving justice and accountability in the aftermath of the murder of George Floyd. The record should show that after George Floyd's murder, that initially the county prosecutor in Hennepin County, that is Minneapolis, took control of the initial investigation. Afterwards, consistent with requests by civil rights leaders and advocates, including the National Urban League and the Minneapolis Urban League, the Attorney General of that state, the Honorable Keith Ellison, was assigned and appointed as a special prosecutor to take over the handling of that case. I dare say that without General Ellison's expertise in assembling a first-class team of investigators and prosecutors, the outcome may have been different. The Attorney General was the legal brains, genius, and strategist behind that prosecution that we all had an opportunity to witness in the media. He has been a longtime friend and ally to the Urban League movement. And ladies and gentlemen, he is here with us today. I ask you to give a warm Urban League welcome to the Honorable Keith Ellison, the Attorney General of Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. President. Hey, friends, anybody, I think, could do one good deed on one day, or maybe a week, or maybe even you could have a good year. But what about 20 years of civil rights advocacy, fighting for the human rights of African Americans and all Americans? Mark Morial, everybody, give it up. Give it up. Leadership is a blessing. Leadership is a blessing, folks. If you've ever tried to run anything as much as a picnic, having somebody in control who knows what's going on helps out, right? Well, for 20 years, Mark Morial has been there and the Urban League has been there through the tough, difficult times. My team that I assembled to prosecute the people who murdered George Floyd, where I'm telling you now, we were nervous. We felt the pressure of history. We felt we had to win. And it was Mark Morial's kind, supportive words that helped get us through. And I want to thank every one of you for making him this successful president, because the best president in the world can't be great without great people to support the work that he's doing. So give yourselves a hand. In the year 2021, you all will recall, we could not get together. We were here virtually, right? Well, you all gave us an award to encourage us forward. We want to thank you for it in person. And I just want to let you know that this book, that what happened to George Floyd was so important. I wrote a book about it. It's called Break the Wheel. And it is because we want to continue the great work that we all share, equal justice for all. We can end the cycle of police violence in our time, but we got to do it together, Urban League. Thank you all very much. Take care now.
Attorney General Keith Ellison. Thank you, Keith. Thank you, Mr. Attorney General. Our featured speaker, needs no introduction. But if you will, I'd like to give him one. Our featured speaker represents clients in injury cases, environmental cases, class actions, and other areas leading to landscape-changing civil rights cases. This warrior for justice and his team are dedicating to holding powerful interests accountable for taking advantage of those who have no power. We see him everywhere. He's the hardest working attorney in the nation, according to the New Yorker. He is, I believe, the Attorney General for Black America and the Attorney General for the locked out and the left out. We know him as the lawyer for the families of George Floyd, Trayvon Martin, Tyree Nichols, Malcolm X, among many others. And it is my pleasure to present Attorney Ben Crump to you. But before Ben comes out, please turn your attention to the video screen.
My cousin, who was just murdered by a Minneapolis police officer, his name is George Terry Floyd.
A familiar name is representing the family. Renowned civil rights attorney Ben Crump.
America is a capitalistic society. The one thing that America understands is money. If you can make them pay higher values, they will stop killing black people. It would be an impediment. Mama, we out here on John's farm because we fighting for the black farmers. Were you taught how to use the products from Monsanto? No. People seek me out because they want somebody they feel they can trust. It's not just fighting racism and discrimination in these police shooting cases. It's fighting racism and discrimination wherever it rears its ugly head. You gotta try to not just be a spectator on the sideline. Get into the arena and do something. I have been given influence for a reason, and shame on me if I don't use that influence. I know who I am, and I know whose I am. Always argue what is right.
And when I wake up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut. Be alright.
Thank you. Thank you. I understand I only have 15 minutes to make my case. So may it please the court gathered here at the 2023 National Urban League Convention. I would like to start off speaking truth to power. And I want to say privately, I want to say publicly what I have said privately, and that is Mark Mariel is one of the most effective, strategic, visionary leaders in the world today, and we should salute him for 20 years of service fighting on the front line for all of our children's future. And so when I think about Mark and his strategic leadership and his vision, it had me to start to wonder, how will we maintain and keep progressing for the next 20 years, Melanie Campbell? And when I thought about that, I concluded it's how we have always progressed as a people. It's what the great Frederick Douglass taught us. Without struggle, there can be no progress. And so, oftentimes people get discouraged because of the struggle. They sometimes get depressed. They become disillusioned because of the struggle. But now, brothers and sisters, I'm here to tell you, we have to do like our ancestors did, like Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman understood. We can't get discouraged by the struggle. We must celebrate the struggle, because as long as we're in the struggle, that means we are making progress. So I wake up and I am encouraged to know that we're still fighting, because that means we're going to make a better tomorrow for our children, because that's what it's about, brothers and sisters. That's what it's about. We are fighting to make a better future for our children. And they're so worth the fight, aren't they? I mean, our children are so worth the fight. And we are fighting to make progress every day to give all of our children a better world, a better America, Keith Ellison, where they have an opportunity to take another breath without a police officer putting his knee on his neck for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And we can give all of our children a better world, a better America, where they have an opportunity to sleep in peace without the police kicking open their front door and mutilating Breonna Taylor's body with 8 bullet holes while she is practically naked in her nightgown in her own home. And we can make a better world, a better America, where Ahmaud Arbery gets to run free without being lynched for jogging while black. Not in 1940, not in 1950, but in 2020, in our day, they lynched that brother for jogging while black. And we can give our children a better world, a better America, where they all have an equal opportunity at the American promise of life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. We can do it, y'all, as long as we wake up every morning ready to celebrate the struggle. Every day. Every day. And I tell you all, we're going to have to struggle now. We're going to have to struggle when we think about what's going on in America. I can't believe it, Kendrick Meeks, that in my home state of Florida, we got an elected leader who is talking about there is no value in DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion. He is saying that, we are going to start prohibiting the teaching of Black history, AP, African American history, banning some of our most iconic, celebrated authors like Maya Angelou I Know Why the Cage Bird Sings, and Alice Walker, The Color Purple, and James Baldwin, Go Tell It on the Mountain. Well, we need to go tell it on the mountain. I mean, I know I'm talking to the choir, but the choir got to sing louder, y'all. Now more than ever. I mean, and what was it just recently, Michelle? He is trying to tell our teachers that they are required to teach children that starting from middle school on, when they talk about American history and they come to slavery, they must tell them that there were some positive benefits to slavery. I mean, in what world would that ever be accepted? And how can we let them think they can get away with this in 2023? We must make sure our children know that slavery was evil, it was inhumane, and it was immoral, point blank, period. It is not debatable. It is not both sides. And when I think about Roland Martin, him banning books and not letting them teach black history, I am reminded of the great Carter G. Woodson, known as the father of black history, who said, if a race has no history, if a race has no traditions that are valued and respected enough to teach the young people, he said, then that race becomes a negligible thought in the mind of the world, and thus becomes endangered of being exterminated off the face of the earth. So we say to the elected leaders of Florida and Texas and anywhere else, we will not let you all exterminate our black history, our black literature, or our black culture. We will stand up for our children. We will speak up for our children. And we will fight for our children. And we will fight for them to the end, because our children need to know when we say Black Lives Matter that we really mean it. And I don't care where you're at, if you're on the front line with Black Lives Matter and Reverend Al and us, or if you're in the corporate executive suite. As Dr. King said, we all have a role to play in this struggle for liberty and equality for all of our children. So everybody can do something. We have to fight for our children until hell freezes over. And as you all heard me say a lot of times before, and then we have to be willing to fight on the ice. But it's not enough just to fight. We have to follow the example of Mark Morial. We have to be strategic in our fighting. So as I try to make my concluding remarks so I'm not held in contempt, I want to remind you all of something I learned from a book called Upstream Thinking. And in that book, Tim, it's pretty straightforward. The gist of it is really this. One sunny afternoon, a young brother was walking downriver, minding his business. And all of a sudden, he heard a young black child in the river say, "Help me, help me. I'm drowning, help me. I'm going to die, save me, help me." And all of a sudden, the brother looked and he saw the child and he jumped in the river. And he saved the child, dragging him on the riverbank. And he said, thank God I was here. If I wasn't here, that young black child would have died. And just after he gathered himself, kind of getting the water off his shoulders, he hears a second young black child, Winston Burns, in the river screaming out, help me, save me, I'm drowning, help me, I'm going to die. And so the brother jumps back in the river for a second time. And he saves the second black child, dragging him out on the riverbank. And as he get out on the riverbank, he said, thank God I was here. If I wasn't here, a second black child would have died. And just as he was gathering himself, shaking the water off, getting the water out of his hair, he heard a third black child screaming out, help me, save me, I'm going to die, help me. And so the brother jumped back in the river for a third time. And he dragged the third black child out from the riverbank. And this time, as he was dragging the third child out, he said, what I want to know is who the hell upstream keep throwing our children in the river, because it's too late to save them all once they get downstream. So what we got to do, brothers and sisters, we got to be proactive. We got to go upstream, and we got to prevent them from throwing our children, getting them caught up in the system. We got to prevent them from throwing our children in the river, getting them caught up in the school to prison pipeline. We got to go upstream. We got to prevent them from getting our children caught up in the cycle of gang violence and drugs. We got to go upstream and be strategic in making sure that we can save our children from the enemies of equality, because the enemies of equality are plotting every day when they get up. So we got to get up every day ready to plot and celebrate the struggle of how we going to win this war against those enemies of equality who got our little black children in the crosshairs. Amen? Brothers and sisters, I say we must remember what Ben Franklin said. He said that democracy is like two wolves and a lamb voting on what to have for lunch. You ain't got to be as smart as Mark Mariel to know who's going to win that vote. But he said liberty is making sure that that lamb is well armed to protest that vote. So what we got to do is make sure that young marginalized lambs of color are well armed to protest them being caught up in the crosshairs of the enemies of equality, whether it's voter suppression, whether it's denial of access to capital, denial of access to health care. We got to be ready. And how do we do that? How do we win this war against the enemies of equality? We do just like Mark Mariel. We are strategic, we are visionary, and we speak truth to power every chance we get. And we must always remember we won't win this war with violence or guns or bullets or any of those means. We will win this war with intellect, with diplomacy, with strategic thinking, because how we win this war against the enemies of equality is we must make sure that our children are more intelligent than those who will seek to oppress them. That's how we win this war. I'm borderline on contempt, so I will tell you this. My personal hero, Thurgood Marshall, said that the basis of the American Constitution is simply this: that a black baby born to a black mother, the most uneducated black mother, the most inarticulate black mother, the most impoverished black mother, has the same exact rights as a white baby born to a white mother, the most educated white mother, the most articulate white mother, the most affluent white mother, just by virtue of that baby drawing its first breath as an American citizen. Now, Justice Marshall said, I know that's not the case in America today, but I challenge anybody to say that's not a goal worth fighting for. I challenge anybody to say that's not what makes America the great beacon of hope and justice for all the world to marvel. So when we fight for the George Floyds of the world, and we fight for the Breonna Taylors of the world, and we fight for the Ahmaud Arbery's of the world, and we fight for the Tyree Nichols of the world, and we fight for the Ezell Fords of the world, and we fight for the Eric Gardners of the world, and we fight for the Sandra Blands of the world, and we fight for the Tamir Rices of the world. We fight for the Michael Browns of the world. We fight for the Trayvon Martins of the world. And we fight for those unknown hashtags that nobody ever mentions their name. Then we remember we must fight for whom my grandmother, using the biblical reference, the least of these. That's how we make America live up to its creed. That's how we make America the great beacon of hope and justice for all the world to marvel. But most importantly, brothers and sisters, assemble at this 2023 National Urban League Convention. When we fight for the least of these, that's how we help make America, America for all Americans. And I rest my case. Thank you.
And when I wake up, I recognize you looking at me for the pay cut. Be alright. Be alright.
So as soon as I find my place here, thank you very much, Mr. Benjamin Crump, for those very inspiring words. We really do appreciate all you have done and continue to do in pursuit of justice for all. At this time, I'd like to present to you another one of our fantastic sponsors, Ms. Chandra Basser, Vice President and Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, Nissan Americas, President, Nissan Foundation.
Nissan's North Star is better conversations lead to better actions, and it serves as our blueprint to create a culture where employees, customers, and partners feel respected, valued, and heard.
A core value of Nissan's DEI strategy is to build relationships and make a societal impact in the communities that employees, dealers, customers, and suppliers call home.
Promoting diversity is just good business. Nissan for everyone.
Good afternoon. As a proud board member of the Urban League of Middle Tennessee, I'm honored to be here with you today on behalf of Nissan. But first, I want to take a moment to acknowledge Mark Morial on his 20th anniversary as President and CEO of the National Urban League. Mark, Nissan applauds the work you've done to further this organization and the work that you continue to do to make impactful change in our communities. Congratulations. Nissan is proud to work alongside the National Urban League in pursuit of equity for all. As Nissan's first Vice President and Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer, I am excited to share in the past year that my team launched a Minority Supplier Development Program. We celebrated the Nissan Foundation's 30th year with a grantee symposium focused on our cultural evolution, and we welcomed new dealer principals through our Dealer Diversity Program. To learn more about our transformation, I encourage you to read our first DEI Annual Transparency Report, Empowering Journeys. It's a new day at Nissan, and with partners like the National Urban League, we cannot wait to see what the future holds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chandra, for those inspiring words. Please allow me to introduce you another one of our generous sponsors, which is Mr. Wes Alexander, Vice President of Workforce Solutions at Travelers.
If you're going to do something, do it for that difference. Do it for that moment. Do it for one child that needs you. Do it for that one family that needs you. Do it for that area of the community that needs you.
It's not just about, profit and dollars. It's about what cultural impact will you have on the community that you're part of.
So the inevitable happened. I knew it when I saw the schedule. I said, oh, they got me talking after the party. So the likely event is that my voice is going to sound horrible, right? But I said, you know what? I'm going to do my best anyway. Fast forward to last night, and Manny Fresh is killing. He puts on, listen, he puts on "'Cause I Love You" by Lenny Williams, and I am singing my lungs out. My people tried to save me. Our head of diversity, Dr. Lauren Young, she turned to me, she said, Wes, remember, you got to speak letter. Don't blow your voice out. I said, yeah, you know what, you're right. I should relax. I'm just going to chill. And 2 seconds later, I'm singing my lungs out. It's because I'm never not going to sing my lungs out when Lenny Williams is singing "'Cause I Love You." It's not going to happen. So I tell this story to just ask for a little space and a little grace as we get into this, because if my voice is unbearable, you can blame Manny Fresh. Oh, it gets worse. I then spend the next hour rapping every word to every song that Kid Capri played for about an hour. Now, he took from about 1973 to about, 2006. That's about where I get off, right? But the damage was done at that point. So if you can't hear me in the back, blame those guys. Second thing I'm just going to share right now off top. Travelers, community engagement, our corporate communications, and the Travelers Foundation run by the incredible Tara Spain, they wrote a fantastic speech for me. They did, but they also knew I wasn't fit to say it. Instead, I'm just going to speak from the heart, because we're here, and it's us. And if I can't do that here, where can I? So just endure me. And listen, I know what y'all thinking, right? Oh, Lord, this brother about to go on and on. But I promise I'm going to be quick, because I know nobody paid their registration fee to hear me talk about Travelers or speak on behalf of Travelers. But on behalf of Travelers, I'm just going to say 3 quick things. Number 1, to the recipients of the awards, thank you. I mean, congratulations for Legacy Award, but really, thank you for that work. When you do service work, you do that not looking for awards. You do that because that's your passion. You're not doing it for props. You do that because you know that the people that are really going to understand and feel you are the people that you touch, but you're not doing it for glory. So the fact that Travelers has a place in order to be able to shine a light on those recipients and they get their flowers right here in real time, I'm proud of that. Second, I'm also proud of our organization's relationship with the National Urban League and with the Urban League of Greater Hartford. Listen, you saw the video. We take care of our customers, we take care of each other, and we take care of the communities in which we serve. And an example of that is our EDGE program, where we take students right in our community, literally students that can see Travelers in downtown Hartford, and they have no idea what we do, and we bring them in. We give them internships and access to scholarships and professional development and an opportunity to see people move in a corporate environment, because some of you are corporate, you'll understand when you come into many of these corporate environments, they feel like foreign environments. So the sooner that we can get young people into these environments and they so choose, if they want to try and work corporate at some point, they now have an advantage that we're able to provide, and I'm proud of that. I think about the ideas that I dang near didn't walk into a corporate environment until I was about 30 years old. And maybe if I got that sooner, it'd be easy for me to stay on these talking points, right? The last thing I'm going to say is that I am extremely proud as a board member of the Urban League of Greater Hartford in the work that has been done in our region. Now listen, I'm just going to keep it a buck with y'all. The reputation of the Urban League of the Greater Hartford area some time ago wasn't really that great. It wasn't financially stable, and you had people giving bread, and they didn't see the Urban League showing up. It's like, what are we giving this money for? That has completely changed under the leadership of the CEO of the Urban League of Greater Hartford. That's David Hopkins. He's not here, but I just wanted to say it out loud and make sure he got his flowers too, and that good energy can feel him back in Hartford, because it is that sort of leadership. And now we show up, you see it, you feel the impact of what's happening, and that is an awesome, awesome thing. So listen, thank you. I appreciate y'all enduring me, and I appreciate to the recipients once again, thanks for doing what you do and being who you are, and thank you all for letting me come up here and do me. Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage Mark H. Morial, President and CEO, National Urban League.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Now, please join me in welcoming our next speaker. In January of 2021, this nation was reeling under the COVID-19 pandemic. Millions and millions of people were out of work. People were dying every single day. You may have felt that pain if a loved one, a family member, or a coworker lost their life because of COVID. You may have suffered the pain and the risk and the uncertainty with respect to COVID. When the Biden administration took office, they were tasked with ensuring that the newly created vaccines were going to be available not just to those who were wealthy and well-heeled and connected, but to the locked out and the left out, to both those with insurance and without insurance. Our next speaker was tasked and asked to leave his position as the Attorney General of California to join the administration as Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services. Under his leadership, the Urban League movement confected a partnership that reached millions with accurate, solid evidence and information on COVID and the safety and reliability of vaccines, and further recruited and set up hundreds and hundreds of sites in communities across the nation so that the vaccine would be available on an equitable basis. Under his leadership, we were empowered to make a difference, to save lives, to protect people, to help them get beyond one of the worst health crises in modern, not only American history, but in global history. The pandemic affected every continent on Earth save Antarctica. And so today I am proud to welcome to the National Urban League and our Houston conference the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, Javier Becerra.
President Muriel, thank you very much, and greetings to all of you. I just arrived from hot and muggy Washington, D.C. Thank you very much, and I understand I'm still hotter and muggier here in Houston, Texas. But don't worry, I'm going to New Orleans next tomorrow, so I hear the weather's better there. Thanks, Mayor Muriel, for that one, right? I want to say to each and every one of you, starting, of course, with your president, to all of the affiliates of the National Urban League, and to each and every one of you who were part of that effort that President Muriel just described, thank you so much, because most of those Americans who this holiday season will get to hug and kiss their loved ones don't realize that it was because of you that they can do that. And by the way, we want to make sure they can do it again this coming viral season coming up. And so we will need you again. But first and foremost, I must say to each and every one of you, a deep thank you for the work that was done. Because if it weren't for the trusted voices that we counted on, things would have been very, very different. Because remember, actually maybe you didn't know, when I stepped into the position early 2021, March of 2021, I started getting reports. You probably saw this. April, May, when vaccines started getting available and people started taking them, by about May, June of 2021, about 2/3 of white adult Americans had gotten their first vaccine. Less than 50% of black adult Americans had gotten their vaccine. Less than 50% of Latino adult Americans had gotten their vaccine. And so we got to work with you. And what we did was we didn't wait for folks to come to us. We went to them. And by January of 2022, 90% of white American adults had gotten at least one vaccine. 90% of adult black Americans had gotten a vaccine. 90% of adult Latino Americans had gotten a vaccine. 90% of Asian American adults had. 90% of Native American adults. We erased the disparity that was growing when the Biden administration had come in. But it wasn't an accident. It wasn't chance. It was absolutely intentional. And that's the only way you make progress today, is to be intentional. And so I come here with great intention, and that is to say to you, the partnership must continue. Each and every one of you, whatever part of the country you are from, we need to work with the Urban League everywhere we go, with its affiliates, with its national leadership. The National Urban League makes it possible for us to get into the homes of people who deserve to get a vaccine free. And because of your work, not just on the vaccines, I'm here to report to you that today there are more Americans who have access to a doctor or a hospital because they are insured than ever in the country's history. More than 300 million Americans today have their own health insurance, public or private. That's a record under the Biden administration because we partnered with you and so many others to reach people where they were. And today, Obamacare, which was supposed to fail, today there are 16.5 million people who have health insurance through Obamacare. That's a 50% increase from the previous administration in 2 years. But here's the good news, and why it's so intentional that I'm here. The only reason we're breaking records on marketplace coverage in Obamacare is because we boosted the number of African Americans who have insurance through the Affordable Care Act. A 50% increase in the last year alone. The same thing with Latino Americans, a 50% increase. And that's why today we have a record number of Americans who are covered and can take their child to a hospital and not worry about going bankrupt when they get home and the bill follows them. We will continue to do that work with you. And so let me be intentional in sending one final message. As we get ready for the flu season, we need you because you know families back home. We need your trusted voices so we can continue to reach folks. Because as we move towards a commercialized market for vaccines, where the federal government no longer provides it, and now you got to pay for it, we can't afford to have a drop. And so if you're insured, you're covered. If you have Medicaid, you're covered. But if you are underinsured or not insured, you're going to have to pay unless you help us. Because the president gave us the permission to save $1 billion in our budget so that we could go out and provide free vaccines to all Americans who do not have insurance over the course of this next flu season. We need your help to make that happen. I hope you will partner with us. Otherwise, we will see America get sick and we will see those disparities grow again. We will need your help to make sure our efforts to have postpartum coverage for any woman who delivers a baby in Medicaid extend not just 60 days, which is what Medicaid used to do, but 365 days. And so far, 35 states have taken us up on that challenge. Who benefits most? Obviously, black and brown women who need that care. And so we need your help. Just as we are expanding health care for women through the doula programs, by funding programs that reach women where they are, we're going to continue to do that. And so help us. And my final call is, let us not let the millions and millions of Americans who today have coverage because they got it under Medicaid and didn't have to lose it during the pandemic, now that the public health emergency is gone, now that we have to have everyone reapply every year for Medicaid, there are millions of Americans who don't know that. Some 17 million Americans may lose their coverage. Many of them, folks in our community. Many of them, children, because nearly half of all Medicaid recipients are kids. Most of them would qualify to keep an insurance coverage. We need your help. We can't afford to have people drop simply because they changed their address and your state Medicaid agency doesn't know it. We can't afford to have people lose their coverage because they didn't open their mail and they didn't see that they now have to submit their application. Help us make sure that millions of Americans who have that peace of mind of health care coverage through Medicaid do not lose it. This partnership is important. Your work is important. We won't succeed without you. And so I am here today to tell you very intentionally, thank you, but we've got work to do. Let's do it together. We hope to succeed. Thank you very much for letting me come and visit. Thank you.
Now, at this time, excuse me, it is my honor to present to all of you Ms. Tanisha Ford, PhD. Dr. Tanisha Ford is the foremost voice for speaking on the intersection of politics, economics, and culture. She makes connections between the past and the present in ways that shed new light on today's most pressing social issues. She is professor of history at the Graduate Center of CUNY. Tanisha has written 4 books, Our Secret Society, Molly Moon, and the Glamour, Money, and Power Behind the Civil Rights Movement, which will be published by Amistad HarperCollins in fall 2023. Dressing Dreams, a black girl's love letter to the power of fashion, St. Martin's, June 2019. Kwame Broadwith, Black is Beautiful, Aperture, May 2019. And the award-winning Liberated Threads, Black Women, Style, and the Glory of Politics of Soul, UNC Press 2015. Tanisha has received several major awards and honors. She was named one of Roots 100 most influential Americans. Her research has been supported by prestigious institutions such as Harvard Radcliffe Institute, Emerson Collective, Andrew W. Mellon Foundation, Ford Foundation, Schomburg Center for Research in Black Culture, among others. A native of Fort Wayne, Indiana, Tanisha Ford currently resides in Harlem. To learn more, please visit TanishaCFord.com. Won't you please help me welcome Dr. Tanisha Ford.
Good afternoon. It is an honor and a pleasure to address this amazing gathering of activists, innovators, and thinkers to celebrate the legacy of National Urban League Guild founder and president Molly Moon. As a historian, I've worked for the past decade to piece together Moon's life, her civic commitments, and her contributions to the modern civil rights movement. Perhaps the cornerstone of her work is the Guild, which she founded in New York City in 1942 at the behest of NUL Executive Director Lester Granger. I share this rich history in my forthcoming book, Our Secret Society, Molly Moon and the Glamour, Money and Power Behind the Civil Rights Movement. And it was a real joy to write, in part because Molly Moon is a good time girl, right? She's a very dynamic woman who in many ways was ahead of her time, but also because it's such an important history of Black generosity, of how organizations like the National Urban League partnered with Black churches, sororities, fraternities, other social organizations and clubs to raise money to support the cause of Black justice and freedom. Moon once said about Black philanthropy and mutual aid, "At an early age, I became aware of my obligation to participate in organized efforts to level the onerous barriers which locked me and my people in a ghastly cultural, political, and economic ghetto. Neither I nor my family had sufficient income to make significant financial contributions to this cause. We did, however, have commitment, energy, and time to contribute." This quote encapsulates the spirit of Molly Moon's generosity, a philosophy of community engagement that was central to her vision for what would become the National Council of Urban League Guilds. I appreciate Molly Moon's stance on philanthropy because it is built upon Southern Black giving traditions. It honors the domestic laborers, teachers, and transit workers who have historically supported justice organizations such as the National Urban League, giving whatever small monetary contributions they could while also investing their sweat equity. Volunteerism is a crucial component to philanthropy and to movement making. In its earliest iteration, the Guild was an interracial volunteer club of young professional people who organized and convened events to educate the public on social justice and civic issues of the day. Their wildly popular fundraisers and special projects interpreted the social and economic problems of the African American community for the broader American public. In less than a year after its founding, the New York City-based National Urban League Guild had 58 active volunteers. And in the years following World War II, the Urban League movement grew rapidly, with guilds across the country in cities that were expanding due to the Great Migration. Atlanta, Memphis, Oklahoma City, the Twin Cities, and even my hometown of Fort Wayne, Indiana, had thriving guilds. Molly Moon's original New York Guild was the blueprint, but each guild defined its own identity and social program. By the time the guilds decided to organize under the banner of the National Council of Urban League Guilds in 1952, there were guilds in almost every major city in the United States. And local guild leaders had amassed considerable power and influence with politicians, television and print media, and other nonprofit organizations committed to the cause of racial and economic empowerment. A St. Paul's Guild leader said that the women and men of the guilds were committed to reaching into the life of the community. They were agents of change whose tireless work behind the scenes often went unrecognized and underappreciated. Nevertheless, their seemingly invisible hands shaped the movement in ways we can only fully appreciate in hindsight. I have made it my purpose to recognize Molly Moon and the countless volunteers whose names have all but been lost to history, but whose shoulders upon which we stand. They are the freedom fighters who have kept the Black fundraising and organizing tradition alive. Thank you. Thank you very much, Urban League.
Thank you very much, Tanisha, for those inspiring remarks. And I would just like to say something off script for our guilders. You will be hearing more from Ms. Tanisha Moore about the history of Ms. Molly Moon. So we are scheduling some events with her very, very soon. At this particular time, it is very befitting for us to make this here honor, as Dr. Ford did mention about Molly Moon, who was very, very instrumental. But now, the National Urban League has an award that we all know that a lot of guilds really strive for, and that is the Molly Moon Volunteer Service Award that is given directly by the National Urban League. This year, the winner is Mr. Clarence A. Miller. He has consistently served Northern Virginia Urban League and the Guild since 1998, including 4 years as a member of the affiliate board of directors and a member of the Personnel and Strategic Planning Committee. During his tenure as president of the Northern Virginia Urban League Guild, he developed critical partnerships to increase Guild reach and efficacy in the community. Mr. and Mrs. Miller conceived and implemented the concept of an annual crystal ball in December, which serves as the primary fundraiser for the Guild, raising over $100,000 over the years. His fundraising efforts over the last 20 years have consistently supported the Guild's ability to annually award a $5,000 scholarship for the college-bound students and financially support the Northern Virginia Urban League Scholarship Program. From 2003 to 2004, Mr. Miller was the Guild president, and the National Council of Urban League Guilds awarded the chapter first place fundraising award at the Guild Legacy Award luncheon during the annual National Urban League Conference. The Northern Virginia Urban League Guild is fortunate to have Clarence Miller. He is a servant leader, comrade, mentor. He delivers unparalleled volunteer service to the Guild affiliate and the Urban League movement. It is my honor and privilege to present the 2023 Molly Moon Volunteer Service Award to Mr. Clarence A. Miller. Accepting this award on Mr. Miller's behalf is Miss Gloria Ward Lewis.
Members of the Urban League movement, fellow Guilders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for this incredible honor of receiving the prestigious Molly Moon Award. I am honored, deeply humble, and truly regret that I am unable to be standing before you today to receive it. First, I would like to express my gratitude to the selection committee for recognizing my quarter century of Guild service and deeming it worthy of the estimated accolade. Your acknowledgement has given me an immense sense of validation and encouragement to continuing pursuing my community service through the Guild wholeheartedly. I extended my sincere appreciation to my Northern Virginia Urban League Guild family, who has contributed to my journey and played a significant role in any and all things we may have accomplished in supporting our affiliate and providing community service, especially to youth in underserved communities. You have played an instrumental role in shaping me into the Guilder I am today. I am honored to be surrounded by such dedicated and talented people. I share this recognition with each of you. To my dear wife, the one who introduced me to the Guild and its work, you have been a constant source of love and support. I owe so much to you. You have been my backbone and a pillar of strength. Once again, thank you for this incredible honor. I don't have the vocabulary to adequately express my gratitude. However, I do promise to continue in service to our community, affiliate, and the Urban League movement. May the great Almighty continue to bless the Urban League, and may the work we do be pleasing in His sight. Thank you.
Now we're getting ready to get to some items that everybody really wanted to hear about. Next up, please welcome our presenters for our next awards. It will be the Whitney M. Young Excellent Leadership Chapter Awards, the Fundraising Awards, and the Community Service Awards. Our presenters are the Central Region Director, Ms. Cynthia Robinson, East Region Director, Ms. Barbara Redmond, and the Southern Region Director, Mr. Stephen Wright.
For the Central Region, the Regional Community Service Award recipient this year is the Urban League of Guild Greater Madison President Corinda Rainey Moore, the affiliate CEO Dr. Ruben Anthony.
And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat, I'm going. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind.
The Regional Fundraising Award recipient is the Urban League of Detroit and Southern Michigan Guild, raising $105,128. The president is Dorothy Crocroft, and the affiliate CEO is N. Charles Anderson.
Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat, I'm going. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never be Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that.
And last but not least, for the Central Region, the Whitney M. Young Jr. Excellent Leadership Award, Regional Chapter Award recipient for Lorain County Urban League Guild, President Angela Lee, affiliate CEO Paris Smith.
And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat, I'm going. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never be Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. You go eat, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never be Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah.
For the Eastern Region, the Regional Community Service Award recipient is the Urban League Guild of Greater Baltimore, President Carlos Maddox, CEO Tiffany Majors.
Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never be Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that.
The Regional Fundraising Award recipient is the Urban League Guild of Philadelphia, raising $27,050. President Gloria Temple Epperson.
Showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never be Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they say yeah, and they say that. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat,
The Whitney M. Young Jr. Excellent Leadership Regional Chapter Award recipient is the Urban League Guild of Philadelphia, President Gloria Temple Epperson.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go straight giant, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never meet Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go straight giant, I'm going. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get it.
We're about to have the Southern Region awards, but before I do that, I would like the Western Region winners to please come to the stage. Los Angeles, Seattle, and Denver. Could you please come to the stage, please? Thank you. Here you have Mr. Stephen Wright.
Good afternoon. For the Southern Region, the Regional Community Service Award goes to the Houston Area Urban League Guild. President Terry Scott, affiliate CEO President Judson Robinson.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never meet Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go straight giant, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what.
Just one moment. Don't leave just yet. The Regional Fundraising Award recipient is the Houston Area Urban League Guild, raising $23,952. The President, Terry Scott, President and CEO, Judson Robinson.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never meet Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime.
Okay, we're not finished. One more. For the Whitney M. Young Jr. Excellent Leadership, the Regional Chapter Award recipient is, once again, the Houston Area Urban League Guild.
Everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go straight giant, I'm going. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never meet Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime.
I have the dubious honor of making the awards for the Western Region. For the West Region, the service awards are as follows. The Urban League Guild of Los Angeles, the Community Service Award. Recipient is the Los Angeles Urban League Guild, Ms. Lillian Wilson, which is the president, and Michael A. Lawson, who is the board chair, CEO.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never meet Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go straight giant, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. We never meet Cali, do the remix. Everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music.
we have two more awards. The fundraising award in the West Region goes to the Urban League of Metropolitan Seattle.
And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat straight giant, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. Whenever me and Cali do the remix, everybody hands go up. Hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there.
And the next award goes to the Whitney M. Young Excellence Leadership Award. It's for the Urban League of Metropolitan Denver. Ms. Heidi Ellis is the president, and Ms. Shanika Carter is the president CEO.
Everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat straight giant, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. Whenever me and Cali do the remix, everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat straight giant.
This is our last award for the evening. As you know, we've had 4 regional winners for the Whitney M. Young Leadership Excellence Award, and those were given to each chapter. As a result of those 4 winners, we award a Chapter of the Year. And I'm happy to say, I want to say congratulations to all of our well-deserving winners. And at this time, I'd like to present the final award of the evening. The Whitney M. Young Chapter of the Year Award. This year, the award goes to two-time winner, second year in a row, which is the Urban League of Philadelphia.
All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. Whenever me and Cali do the remix, everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat straight giant, I'm going in. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. Whenever me and Cali do the remix, everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there. Cause all I do is win. We the best music. And if you go eat straight giant, I'm going. All I do is win, 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 no matter what. Got money on my mind, I can never get enough. Whenever me and Cali do the remix, everybody hands go up, hey, showtime. And they stay there, and they stay there, and they stay there.
What a tremendous afternoon, very inspiring evening. Let's give another round of applause to all of our award recipients today. Thank you. Please. Once again, our sponsor, presenters, and to every one of you coming out today. Yesterday we celebrated. Today we are organizing. Looking for a break between sessions. Stop by 2 of our Urban League Now Experience Lounges for a free headshot, refreshments, networking, or a place to get some work done right here in the convention center. We're closing out today tonight we're closing out the evening with the Whitney M. Young Awards Gala. The evening celebrates the voices and commitment of those championing the Urban League's mission to empower Black communities around this nation. Joining us in this honoring are Texas leaders icons, including Representative Sheila Jackson Lee and Al Green, and entertainment icon Will Packer. And if you're ready to take control of your career, your future, join us at noon for the virtual career fair. Engage with 400 to 500 recruiters, gain strategy for your professional growth, get free resume critiques and career coaching. Connect with us online. Download the mobile app and visit nulconference.org. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you all very much.
For social media users joining us online and in the audience, please follow us at Nat Urban League on all platforms and take a moment to update your Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter status using the hashtag NULCONF23. For social media users joining us online and in the audience, please follow us at Nat Urban League on all platforms and take a minute to update your Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter status using the hashtag NULCONF23.
I charge my crystals in a full moon. You can send them missiles, I'ma send my goons. Baby sister rapping, yeah, trust me, they gon' need it.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats as our program is about to begin.
Put us any damn where we gon' make it look cute. Pandemic fly on a runway in my hazmat. Children running through the house in my art all black. Ancestors on the wall, let the ghost chit chat. Ancestors on the wall, let the ghost chit chat. Hold my hands, we gon' pray together. Lay down, face down in the gravel. We wearing all tie white to the funeral. Black love, we gon' stay together. Curtis Mayfield on the speaker. Lil Malcolm, I miss from Mama Tina. Need another march, let me call Tamika. Need peace and reparation for my people.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats as our program is about to begin.
Motherland drip on me. Honey, come around my way, around my eyes. Whenever mama says so, mama says, here I come on my toes, yeah. Follow my parade, my parade. Talking slick to my folk, lick that lip like lipo, hypo. Yeah, I'm swarming right. These is known to bite. Now here we come on our toes, yeah.
Please welcome Shannon Lanier, national news anchor and influencer at Mr. Shannon Lanier.
Oh, that's my jam right there. Anybody know what movie that came from? The Greatest Showman, that's right. This is me. That's what it's called. If you haven't heard that song, check it out. It's hot. All right. Thank you guys so much for coming to this session. I am super excited because we have an amazing panel for you guys. So thank you all for coming. This is the Plenary 3 Young Professionals, and we're going to talk about being your authentic selves. Are you guys ready for that? Okay, I hope so, because we have a dynamic discussion plan for you guys. Now, I am very excited this afternoon because we have a wonderful event planned for you all. We are prepared some powerful sessions throughout this conference, but this one is one that you just can't miss, about being your authentic self and really rising above to focus on what it is that defines you, especially in the workplace and your personal life, because it can be so subjective at many times. And you'll hear from some of our era's most true individuals, originals, innovators, and people of true distinction that have successfully navigated the challenges of conformity and social expectations to set their own pathway. Now, our speakers were really going to help us today discover new ways to embrace your individuality and leverage those qualities to find success. Because a lot of times we try to not become ourselves and try to navigate based on what someone else is doing. So we're going to try to make that a little bit more personal today. Now, so this is for people whether you're just starting out on your personal or professional life or seeking to make a change in your life or your professional life. This Is Me is the name of this session, and it offers a space to really reflect on your journey and find inspiration in your true self. So, to start things off, before we get to our panel, I would like to introduce two of our wonderful sponsors. We have Sean Lee, Chief Customer Experience Officer at North American Operating Unit for the Coca-Cola Company, and we have Chanel Chisholm, Regional Human Resources Business Partner at Benjamin Moore. Please give them a round of applause.